Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited that you are so willing to serve our church as a volunteer in our children's, youth, and vulnerable adult ministries. This is a video tutorial designed to introduce you to our Safe Sanctuaries policy. I'd like to begin by giving you a summary of what exactly we mean by Safe Sanctuaries. The General Conference of the United Methodist Church in April 1996 adopted a resolution aimed at reducing the risk of sexual abuse in the church. The adopted resolution included the following statement. Jesus said, "Whoever welcomes a child welcomes me," from Matthew chapter 18, verse 5. Children are our present and our future, our hope, our teachers, and our inspiration. They are full participants in the life of the church and in the realm of God. Jesus also said, "If any of you put a stumbling block before one of these little ones, it would be better for you if a great millstone were fastened around your neck and you were drowned in the depth of the sea," from Matthew chapter 18, verse 6. Our Christian faith calls us to offer both hospitality and protection to the little ones, the children. The social principles of the United Methodist Church state that children must be protected from economic, physical, and sexual exploitation and abuse. Tragically, churches have not always been safe places for children. Child sexual abuse, exploitation, and ritual abuse occur in churches both large and small, urban and rural. Ritual abuse refers to abusive acts committed as part of ceremonies or rites. Ritual abusers are often related to cults or pretend to be. The problem cuts across all economic, cultural, and racial lines. It is real and it appears to be increasing. Most annual conferences can cite specific incidents of child sexual abuse and exploitation in their churches. Virtually every congregation has among its members adult survivors of early sexual trauma. Such incidents are devastating to all who are involved: the child, the family, the local church, and its leaders. Increasingly, churches are torn apart by the legal, emotional, and monetary consequences of litigations following allegations of child abuse. God calls us to make our churches safe places, protecting children and other vulnerable persons from sexual and ritual abuse. God calls us to create communities of faith where children and adults grow safe and strong. So, in covenant with all United Methodist congregations, we adopt this Safe Sanctuaries policy for the prevention of child, youth, and vulnerable adult abuse in our church.
Abuse is defined as an act committed by a parent, caregiver, or person in a position of trust, even though he or she may not care for the child, youth, or vulnerable adult on a daily basis, which is not accidental and which harms or threatens to harm a child's, youth's, or vulnerable adult's physical or mental health or welfare. This includes any acts utilizing electronic means that could be construed as physical, verbal, sexual, or ritual abuse. There are different types of abuse. Physical abuse. Abuse in which a person deliberately and intentionally causes bodily harm to a child, youth, vulnerable adult. Examples: violent battery with a weapon, burning, shaking, kicking, choking. Emotional or verbal abuse. Abuse in which a person exposes a child, youth, or vulnerable adult to spoken and or unspoken violence or emotional cruelty. Emotional abuse sends a message to the child, youth, vulnerable adult of worthlessness, badness, and being not only unloved, but undeserving of love and care. Examples: confinement, as in a closet; inadequate nurturance; extreme discipline; knowingly permitting such behavior as drug or alcohol abuse. Emotional abuse is often very difficult to prove and is devastating to the victim. Neglect. Abuse in which a person endangers a child's, youth's, or vulnerable adult's health, safety, or welfare through negligence. Examples: withholding food, clothing, medical attention, education, or even affection and affirmation of a child's, youth's, vulnerable adult's self-worth. Sexual abuse. Abuse in which sexual contact between a child, youth, vulnerable adult, and an adult, or another older and more powerful youth, occurs. The child, youth, vulnerable adult is never truly capable of consenting to or resisting such contact and or such sexual acts. Child or youth sexual abuse is the sexual exploitation or use of minors for satisfaction of sexual drives. This includes, but is not limited to, incest, rape, prostitution, romantic involvement with any participant, any sexual intercourse, or sexual conduct in sexualized behavior that communicates sexual interest and or content.
In order to clarify all parties for the purpose of this video, a worker is defined as an adult who has responsibility for programming and or supervision of children, youth, or vulnerable adults. An adult is a person who is 18 years of age or older. A child is a person whose age is between 0 and 12 years of age. Youth includes a person whose age is between 13 and 17 years of age. Vulnerable adults are any person 18 years of age or older with diagnosed diminished physical, mental, or emotional capacities. We've talked a little bit about abuse and the importance of protecting our children. Now, we're going to enter into this portion of the video where we talk about our policies. Beginning with the 2-adult rule. No fewer than 2 adults who are not related and have passed the screening process must provide supervision at all times during any program, event, or ministry involving children, youth, or vulnerable adults at the church. If a group is divided, each subgroup, which is in a separate room, will have 2 adult workers. Invited guests who are not screened do not count as a pair of the 2-adult rule. The 5-year older rule. Of the 2 adult workers for a group of children and or youth, at least one of the workers will be at least 5 years older than the oldest member of the group. The 5-year older rule is not applicable to those working with vulnerable adults. The 6-month hospitality rule. First Methodist Church of Moultrie will not utilize a worker for children, youth, and or vulnerable adult ministries unless such person has continuous active involvement or has been a member of this church for at least 6 months. This rule does not apply to paid staff. All persons must participate in an annual orientation and screening process. The use of floaters. During periods of time which only one supervising adult is present, all interactions will occur in open and public spaces, and door rooms will remain open. A designated adult floater will roam between rooms, regularly checking in on each room. Overnight stays. If a group stays overnight at a church, or if a church-sponsored group leaves the premises, 2 or more workers must provide supervision. If it is a mixed group, the workers must include at least 1 male and 1 female who are not related. If a group is of one gender, at least 1 worker must be of the same gender. When groups travel overnight and stay in a hotel or other non-bunk room housing, adult leadership will stay in separate rooms from children, youth, and vulnerable adults. Transportation. When transporting children, youth, or vulnerable adults to a day trip activity, 1 supervising adult in each vehicle is adequate. A driver's license is required to be on file in the church office for all drivers of personal or church vehicles. When a personal vehicle is used, a $300,000 liability insurance certificate is required to be on file in the church office prior to use of that vehicle. When traveling by charter bus, adult chaperones will be stationed throughout the bus to ensure constant supervision while traveling together. If the required adult leadership cannot be secured, the event cannot take place.
Reporting abuse. Should there be an allegation of abuse at First United Methodist Church, the following procedures shall be followed. Number 1, any allegation of abuse shall be treated as serious. Number 2, immediately begin documenting all procedures which occur in handling the allegation of abuse. Number 3, immediately notify the staff person in charge. The staff person notified shall immediately contact the senior pastor and other members of the Safe Sanctuaries committee. Number 4, do not confront the accused, but do remove him or her from any further involvement with children, youth, or vulnerable adults until the allegation is investigated. Number 5. Observe confidentiality for both the alleged victim and the accused until advised to the contrary by the Safe Sanctuaries Committee. Number 6. The chair of the church leadership team or someone designated by the church leadership team will be the sole spokesperson for the church should an incident occur. Thank you again for your willingness to serve. At this time, I ask that you complete the covenant statement found within your volunteer packet and, by signing, agree that not only have you listened and understood this video in its entirety, but that you will join us in our unwavering commitment to the physical safety and spiritual growth of all under the shadow of our steeple. This final screen will help you identify all paperwork within your volunteer packet and what you now need to return to the church office in order to have completed your Safe Sanctuary training.